Well, hello, my friends. It's been a long while, but you know what? I'm back in the saddle again. It's been almost 2 years and 1 month since we last spoke. Once again, my name is Mike Yankura. This is the No Feet Survival Guide. We're going to start up season 2 here, and you get to see my lovely map here on video. So, thank you to the good folks at what is it? It's Unstuck Studios. Um, I am at Podfest 2025, and what a story it's been just to get my sorry butt down here to sunny Orlando, Florida. Well, it's a little cloudy today. There was some rain and whatnot, but I'm here. It's definitely warmer than it is in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. I believe they're going to be looking at 23 degrees, but it's heating up for Monday. Today is Saturday, the 18th. But come Monday night, they're going to be facing the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for the football championship. And I'm guessing Ohio State's going to win that one just for the sheer fact every time college football changes its playoff format, you know what? Ohio State always wins the initial one. But where it goes after that, you never know. But once again, it's been 2 years. It seems like it's flown by, and I've ended up keeping the account active. So, once again, it's really been a catharsis for me to do all the episodes and share my story and to hopefully give some life lessons to some people who are facing challenges. It's been an amazing journey for me, especially for the last 14 or 15 years or so. If you recall, if you catch the first 13 or so episodes, I definitely went over my autobiography where, yeah, I've gone through learning I have diabetes, losing 175 pounds, having two legs amputated, a kidney transplant, and a partridge in a pear tree. It's been amazing. And since then, I've always kind of had a small itch to restart this. But being here at Podfest, again in Orlando, and you meet some of the most amazing people who are doing podcasts, who are lending advice on just every topic under the sun. It's absolutely incredible. Financial help. Just talked to someone who was dog grooming. People who have disabilities, disability advocates, people talking about the healthcare system. Again, you name a topic, and there's probably somebody podcasting about it. So, what would make me different than anybody else? I honestly have no idea. But all I can do is share my story, and hopefully this gets the juices flowing for me to where I can interview some other people who have gone through some sort of health or mental or emotional challenge and look at their story and see how they've gone through to survive and thrive. And that's the main thing. Everybody has their struggles. Everybody has some sort of issue, one way or the other. How do you overcome that? And I'll give you a quick story of someone I met here. Her name is Tammy Barber. Those of you who may not know the name, she was once upon a time a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. And as she says, when the Cowboys were good. So, for you Cowboy fans out there, I think you know what I'm talking about. But she is also a cancer survivor, and she has taken her story, her challenges, and have made that into a couple of podcasts. One dealing with her cancer, but another one also dealing with former cheerleaders in the NFL and some of the struggles and challenges that they have gone through. So it's an amazing story. And again, she's just one of, it seems like I've met 10,000 amazing people here, even with maybe, maybe 1,000 people here doing podcasts. So what's happened with me over the last couple of years? It's once again, it's just been a journey to say the least, both not so much physically, but I the emotional and mental challenges that I have faced. I think physically I'm doing okay. Now, as you may have seen, um, obviously I'm not at the ideal weight. I'm unless my ideal height was like 8 feet tall, I'd be at the ideal weight. Weight struggles have been kind of the main focus for me, which it's been an up and down struggle, no doubt about that. I've gone through that for my entire life. Maybe one day I'll just be skinny enough to say, "Hey, look at me. I'm a pretty healthy dude." So, but I'm feeling pretty good physically. So, you get the normal aches and pains. I'm 24 days away from being 55 years old, believe it or not. Um, I'm sure I don't look a day over 70 if you're looking at me on video, but in any event, I'm 24 days away from turning 55. And outside of the normal aches and pains someone of my age and stature might get, hey, I'm doing pretty good, I think. So, but let's see, in the last 2 years, I may have mentioned this on the last podcast when I skipped about a year on it, but I have been gainfully employed by Willowwood of Ohio. And if you are familiar with any sort of prosthetic, that is a prosthetic company that right now, with the industry the way it is, it's one of the big three. And it's, well, and to be more specific, it's a big two, and then the little third who's trying to gain momentum to get up into the big three. But yeah, I would say they're third in the industry right now. And Willowwood is a very interesting company indeed. It was founded in 1905, and the gentleman who started it, and please correct me, Willowwood people, it was Bob Arbogast who started the company in 1905 because he had lost his leg in a railroad accident and ended up carving out a prosthetic out of a Willowwood tree, hence the name. But up until, probably about 7 years ago, it had been a family run business. And right now, it is half run by the Arbogast family, the fourth or fifth generation, Ryan Arbogast to be specific, and a capital management company, which brings up the interesting dynamic of being under a capital management company and how much that dynamic changes, even though a lot of the aspects are still based on a family run business. So I'm kind of in an interesting spot there. I've worked in a couple different departments there. I'm currently assembling what's called a Lin Logic, which is an elevated vacuum. I should show you the prosthetics that they make for me, the shells, and they primarily do liners for legs. And I'm going to remove my leg and give you, that's just a look see at some of the custom made prosthetics that they do. Uh, this is called a socket, um, for those of you wondering at home. And I'm going to peel this off too. And this is kind of the bread and butter of the business that I work in. And these are liners. So, this specific liner, as you can see by the bolts here, this is called a locking liner. And what it does, there's a hole in the prosthetic where this slides into, basically locks into place, and I have a lever that unreleases it so that I don't have to worry about things such as what what we call in the business pistoning, but for the lay people out there, it's basically when the leg makes a farting noise while you're walking. So I'm not gonna worry about that just yet. We'll put that on after the show's over. So I'm not gonna bore you to tears with all the specifics of that. But there's two types of liners. One is the locking that I wear. The other one is called a cushion liner. Now, with the cushion liners, they don't have the lock on them. It just fits on the limb. And one of the things you need to do to keep that particular limb in place is what's called an elevated vacuum. So, the elevated vacuum is one of the things that I make now. There's electronic ones where you can control the pressure that it puts on the limb with a little key fob. You could put it up to 20 pounds of psi on your leg if you so need it. And what my particular product is called a mechanical, which doesn't need any electronic devices. It would fit. Let me bring out the socket again. If it cooperates. So it would fit right about here. Let me make sure I'm showing the right spot. Okay. So it would fit about right here. And what it does is every time you step, it holds the liner in place. So, and the more you walk, the more pressure it builds up. Um, there is a little regulator on the pump itself that basically does exactly that. It regulates the pressure on the leg, so you can walk with as much or as little pressure as need be. Uh, my job, basically, it's a very labor intensive process to manufacture just one of those, and there's always a lot of testing that goes on. And that's basically what I do right now as the main job. Hopefully, once everybody likes this podcast, we can get some people to talk to and hopefully inspire those of you who are facing challenges. I know you're out there because I've been there. And it's mostly up to you to figure out a way to overcome it. And my goal with a podcast like this is always to say, hey, you can do it. If I can do it, and I feel like I've got zero discipline, I've got zero motivation. uh, But yeah, I just go and live my life. And hopefully, somebody like me can inspire somebody like you if you're facing any sort of physical, mental, emotional challenges. And everybody has them. So it's a question of what do you do to overcome it? And that's one of those things where I always recommend to talk to somebody. Even if it's me, if you're talking to me or listening to me, you know, I hope and pray that you get that help that can put you over the top because nobody ever does it alone. I have the help of God. And one of the things I've done in the past 2 years as a practicing Catholic is practicing a little bit better by saying the rosary every day. And let me give a shout out to Carrie Kanda, by the way, who made a homemade rosary for me. And it has been an absolute godsend. So I want to thank you very much for making that for me. And it has been put to good use. I started in 2024 doing the rosary every day. I ended up missing 5 days. So the new goal for that is to miss 0 days. And so far, so good. 18 days in, and I'm 18 for 18. So hopefully, we can finish out the year doing the rosary every day. And the way it has helped me is any challenges that I have faced, saying the rosary every day has opened up for God to give me a sense of calmness, much like meditation or yoga may do for you. It's it's very therapeutic. When I'm saying the rosary, a lot of that is thinking about the challenges that I face. And, being here in Podfest, which I'll go over in a little bit, uh, facing my car challenges right now, uh, things that work with certain management who are kind of absentee, after effects from COVID or what have you. So it's given me a sense of serenity where if I get too high or too low, it's like, hey, we got to level this out. Let's think it through. And just saying the rosary every day has helped me. Now, again, for those of you who are listening in, you may not be Catholic. Um, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, something like that, there's always some sort of prayer chain or chant that can help. And again, it's kind of given me the sense of calmness, a sense of serenity, and it's just been fantastic. So, what else has been going on in the last 2 years? Well, I have become, as a side hustle, a trivia host. That has been such a fantastic and fun side hustle for me. I can't begin to tell you how much it's helped me keep that serenity that I seek. And for whatever reason at work, sometimes Tuesdays have always been the most challenging days. And you've kind of seen that, for a lot of people, it's Monday. They had too much fun over the weekend. They get back into it, and it's like, Tuesdays have been weird for me the last couple of years since I started working at Willowwood. It's, I don't know what it is. It's just something that like eats at you. And then once I leave and I'm heading towards the bar where I host trivia, it's been absolutely fantastic. And the bar I have been at, and I'm going to give a shout out to that bar. It's called Fatty Beer in Westerville, Ohio. It is actually a chain of bars and microbrews based out of Buffalo, New York. This is the only one that's outside the Buffalo area. And for those of you who are beer aficionados or possibly beer snobs, I don't like using that term, but if you're a beer aficionado, they've got a ton of microbrews that you can select from all over the world to try out, whether it's in cans and bottles. They have some on tap. You join a mug club with them. again, I don't drink, but I'm looking around and it's like, man, if I did drink, I'd be trying that. But yeah, once again, that temptation not really there. But the crowds that have been drawn there in the last 2 years at that particular bar, I can't say enough good things about all my regulars there. I mean, they are so much fun. They're just a great audience. I have a great time with them. Sometimes I get a little edgy to the PG-13, NC-17 line. I try not to go way over that line, but you get a little innuendo in there, and it just makes it so much fun. It's also a dog friendly bar for those of you. And I'm not sure if all the fatty beers are dog friendly, but this one is. And one thing you learn is make sure you feed the dogs. So I always got a box of milk bones ready for these dogs. I'm going to talk to two particular dogs that are regulars. I have one trivia team that's named the Dim Bulbs, and there's a dog named Bear who's, I believe, a husky, but that is probably one of the most chill dogs I've ever seen in my life. Just kind of looks at you, and well, he'll come up to me now because he knows he's getting a milk bone, but just lays there and chills out. And I don't know if they answer any of the trivia questions, but they do a little better when that dog is there. And then there's the one gentleman, I believe his name is Jim, but I do know the dog's name is Daisy. Now, Daisy is just a little mutt, probably about that big, runs on batteries, I think, and is just the most energetic dog you ever meet. Never met a stranger in her life. She will come up, leap up, and just worst thing she'll ever do is lick you to death. But she is such an energetic dog, and usually got to break the milk bones in half for her just because she's that small. But she's a fantastic dog. And then we get the occasional dogs in there who do one-off visits, and their human owners play some trivia. So they're, you know, again, what a fun time. What a therapeutic time for myself. It's, and that's one of the things I always recommend. Yeah, find something to love to do. It's, and I'm finding out, as we'll go over in a little bit, it's so much fun doing trivia, asking questions, and me previewing them and trying to kind of like, okay, what would my answer be for this, and kind of keeping score along with myself when I preview and how well I do against some of the other teams. And I'm obviously playing by myself when I'm previewing them, but yeah, you got teams of 7 or 8 that are trying to figure some of this stuff out. I mean, again, it's competitive, but just playing trivia is so much fun. If you're inquisitive about knowledge, and even if you're not really good at it, man, just go and find somewhere where they got a trivia night, and it's just a boatload of fun. And again, these last 2 years, been a lot of serenity. And one other thing that I've gotten to enjoy doing, and that is through my membership with the Knights of Columbus, is hosting a euchre night first Saturday of every month at my church. And again, always been a card player ever since I was a kid. Really never learned euchre until I was an adult, but overseeing that, one, it kind of makes me feel like a casino boss. So, but it's always enjoyable to have people come in. They do carry ins or potluck, however you want to call it. just a load of fun. It's great interacting with people there, and occasionally I get to play and um, keep my euchre skills nice and sharp. So, again, one of my other activities that I've done there. So, one of the challenges I've kind of faced is some car issues within the last 6 or 7 months or so. When I last came to you, I had my 2000, what would that have been? 2008 Chevy Trailblazer. And in August of 24, it finally conked out on me after putting almost 100,000 miles on it in 6 years. So it died right around 230,000 miles. And yeah, it all came within about a week where one, I had to get wires fixed on it. And then probably about 4 days later, I didn't know if other fuses blew on it, but woke up one Saturday, nothing. So I was without a vehicle for a couple of days. Went to a place called Drive Time and got myself a Jeep Patriot. Love the car, but yeah, I was desperate for a car. And, if you're desperate for a car like that, yeah, you could probably go to a place like Drive Time or JD Buy Rider or what have you. The financing on it is absolutely outrageous. So, yeah, I was desperate for a car, but yeah, as far as like a long term solution, that it's bad news. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. And I'm still kind of paying the price for it. So, oh, I thought you were taking a picture of me. Nah, okay. Are we taking a selfie? Okay. So, where I'm at now, just pardon the interruption, but here with Unstuck Studios, they've got actual pods set up for podcasters to do episodes. So I was like, yeah, when I get back from Orlando, I'm gonna get an episode going. And I wanted to do one before, but things got in the way. So this was a good opportunity for me to get this started up again, season two, as it were. And once again, hopefully we'll get some guests on here. So, but back to the vehicles. So I had a Jeep Patriot, got through drive time, paying this outrageous amount. And I was heading to Willowwood on November 11th, which was a Monday. And there's a certain curve that goes into a little town called Mount Sterling, Ohio, where there's a left hand turn that you got to make a funky little angle to turn into to get to the plant. And when I say I literally work in the middle of a cornfield, that is not far off from the truth. And it's just been there since, it's been there forever. I'll put it that way. So, November 11th, I was making a left hand turn trying to go onto the road that goes to the plant, and a tanker truck was tailing me. It was not a pretty sight, but once again, God blessed me from that standpoint that that tanker truck could have rear-ended me and your humble correspondent wouldn't have been here. But he had enough sense to go to the berm on the right hand side and basically just completely messed up my passenger side of the car. So luckily there was nobody else on the passenger side, but so the insurance company for the truck has deemed it a total loss after I went and got estimates for the body, which was a shade under $9,000. Now, where it's getting tricky here is just the long process. Remember that I had this accident November 11th. Today is January 18th. I still don't have that car paid off because one, it took the insurance company that long to put a settlement amount to the finance people from Drive Time. But then I've also got gap insurance, thank God, through them because I'd have been really in a mess. So it's a long process. Hopefully it's coming to an end. I keep praying about it that it was going to get done this weekend because I was advised it takes 10 business days and they initially sent information to the finance people January 3rd. So hopefully, knock on wood, that once I get back to Columbus, Ohio, that everything is all set to go. So that's what's happening with the car. Now, I am talking to you from Podfest 2025. And you're probably saying to yourself, Self? I says, Self, what is Podfest 2025? Up until the middle of last month, I had no idea that this thing even existed. Once again, I haven't done a podcast in 2 years. I kept the account active, getting a download here, download there. Thank you for those who were listening in, whether you thought this was my autobiographical story and hopefully some life lessons, or if you thought maybe this was like about hitchhiking up in the mountains and getting stuck on a rock and losing your foot or something along those lines. But thank you for the downloads. I do really appreciate them. Hopefully, we can get things escalated by coming down here. Any event, about middle of December, the company I go through, which is Buzzsprout, had sent me a email saying you could go to Podfest 2025 on us. I'm like, there's a Podfest 2025? I was like, I didn't even know there was a Podfest. So me doing a little research, and it's, I would say the closest way I could describe it is kind of like a Comic Con, but it's a conference of podcasters coming together to one, market themselves, two, network, three, pick up lessons on how to make the podcast better, kick it up a notch, however you want to say it. So in the email, they were like, put your reason why you'd like to go to Podfest 2025. Okay, wrote something around here. And I sent it over, and I just thought it was a load of horse shit that I sent over. So, I mean, I was sincere, but I just figured they were going to see it as a load of horse shit. Okay. So I figured, they're not going to ask me. Maybe a 2%, 3%, 5% shot of getting invited to this thing. So I get an email the next week going, hey, we're going to invite you to Podfest 2025. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So they paid for the conference, but obviously I had to get my own flight and hotel stay down here. So I am at the beautiful Renaissance Hotel in Orlando, Florida, just having the time of my life, one, but meeting all sorts of awesome people. And first of all, I just want to thank the great folks at Buzzsprout. They have been nothing but fantastic to me, keeping the account active, and hopefully, once again, it's gotten the juices flowing, as it were, that hey, maybe I can do this for a living, helping people out, just overcoming those challenges. So I've just always been that way. More or less thinking about other people and not necessarily myself, but gotta take in the whole gamut, myself and other people, because if I can't help myself, how in the world am I gonna help other people? But just, oh, let me look at my notes real quick because that's how I got there. And one of the things just on these podcasts, and it's one of those things that I always kind of knew, but you don't realize it till you actually get here. The absolute variety of podcasts that are out there. Once again, you name a subject, somebody's got a podcast for it. And it's just so neat listening about all the different topics, the subjects, and how they're helping regular folks like you and me out. So it's just been an absolute fantastic experience seeing some of the people who are pioneers in the podcasting business who've been doing this for more than 20 years. And that right there blows me away. I've been doing it technically for going to be it's 3.5 years, we'll say. So I can't express how much in awe I am, even just getting here and just being blown away by the knowledge, the friendliness, the networking. It's all been amazing. And some of the people I have met, um, two gentlemen named Aaron and David, I want to give them shout outs for having a disability meetup. And Aaron is more of an advocate. And I should add another name in there, Christine, who I met at a one of the seminars, who one was from Cleveland, so my gal, but she's also an advocate for disabilities and talks to medical professionals about the patients that they've had, and basically her story with her biological daughter, who unfortunately passed away but had special needs, and her adult adopted son, who has special needs. She is the guardian, and just the story she conveyed about him being able to vote in this past election, and such a neat story. Aaron, who I met at the disability meetup, is also an advocate, has had special needs sons. And then I got to meet David, who is legally blind. Excuse me. Oh, I should get a lovely sip of liquid here while I talk about David. But he's legally blind, has two podcasts going that basically is an advocate for blind people or their caretakers and how they overcome their certain challenges. I got to meet a young lady named Beth Ann Weiss, who calls herself the Queen of Assets, who has written a book, has another one on the way, and basically goes over self care, uh, whether financially or physically. Uh, she she's a New Yorker and Jewish, by the way. So not that, just kind of spitting that out. So, but I've gotten three of the five boroughs covered because she was from Queens. I had met a couple people from Brooklyn, and then another person living in the Queens who was originally from the Bronx. And so if I get Manhattan and Staten Island, I got the bingo card complete. And who else? One of the other things was just looking at the comedy showcase, how to insert comedy in the podcast to, or just do a comedy podcast, which I've always used my sense of humor to my benefit as far as not being terribly serious about myself. And I think that's so helpful that keeping a positive attitude, laughter is the best medicine, pick whatever cliche you want. But it's just been that was so helpful as far as learning how to, take those serious subjects, make light of it where you're not making fun of it per se, but you can find the humor in every situation. So hopefully that can transfer over to when I start interviewing people and keeping the podcast going. So also learned about monetizing, which we'll worry about that when it comes around. So hopefully this is something that will get you guys thinking, and hopefully that I can make a little money off of conveying stuff to you that I'll give you a little bit of the tease, but not the whole thing, as it were. So that should be fun. But again, I can't say enough about what a fantastic experience this has been, and I've probably been talking myself to death about this. Just staying on here and conveying to you, as I've always said, this is a boy and his microphone, and now it's a video camera, at least for one episode. So I want to thank everybody who's downloaded the episodes over the years. Again, I can't thank you enough because one day, hopefully, we'll get some commas in those numbers of downloads. That's the big goal. So I'm getting there, and hopefully, this can help bring that over to the top. And then we work on the next goal and the next one and the next one. But again, very much a catharsis for me, and hopefully for those of you out there who are facing some sort of physical challenge, an emotional challenge, a mental challenge, hopefully this is the stimulus for you that you're like, hey, boy, look at that guy. I mean, he was able to do it. Again, my discipline's through the floor, but I'm going to keep working at it. And hopefully you can too, because that's my goal for you, is to make sure you're surviving and thriving. It's one thing just to survive, but to thrive off of that, I mean, isn't that the ultimate goal? Is to make sure we're all living the best life we can to praise God and his wonderful mercies, particularly upon me, and probably when I don't deserve it. But you know what? That's that's one of the great things about being Christian, being Catholic is, yeah, you can mess up and you're trying not to mess up, but you do sometimes. We all do. And he's bringing mercies on us and keeping me calm and say, okay, let's look at some options here and let's go with that. But I'm not clouded by, it's time to panic. So I try. That's one of the things I'm getting out of this. That's one of the things I want for you, my listeners. And apologize to the non bums for the ums and ers and all that. But again, I'm kind of going off the cuff. I've got some bullet points, but nothing terribly scripted. I want to thank you guys for listening in. I don't even know how long have I been on here. Don't see a time. It's probably been 3 hours, but who knows? But again, very cathartic for me. And future episodes, definitely want to get some people into the fold to find out their stories. Because one, I like telling stories. I like telling my story to you, but I'm curious about people and how they have overcome their challenges. So if you're seeing this and you would like your story to be told, send out an email to me. My email is mike to the y at gmail.com. So that's MikeToThe and the letter Y, Mike to the Y at gmail.com. Put in the No Feet Survival Guide as your subject so that I know that you're looking for this specifically. And we will get it arranged that we will get you on a future episode. I think that would be fantastic. I've got some people that I'm definitely looking forward to talking to. And I'm making a new 9-year-old friend over there who's like right around the corner and just kind of wandering between Pod Zero, the podcast. So thank you guys again for listening to me ramble on. Wish me luck tonight. I'm going to be doing open mic, 3 minutes of comedy, or they slime me, or they do the old fashioned cane yanking me out of the stage. So who knows? Maybe I'll get a laugh or two, but it'll be a fun experience for me to do an open mic. So once again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything you've done for me and looking for prosperous times ahead. Let's kick it up a notch, as Armel says. And I will leave you with a line that I saw on the internet and use it for my finishing quote at trivia nights. Be the surprise onion ring in somebody's french fries. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. And guys, have a good day. May God bless you.